All right, can you hear me? Thumbs up. Yep, to do this, it takes a lot. So thank you so much for bearing with me. We're going to go ahead and stop screen sharing so that we can check in. If anyone who does not want to check in, that's literally, hey, this is what's going on. Fill us in with anything going on in your world. You can let me know privately in chat, or you can put it in the chat. Or when I call your name, say no, or anything that makes you feel comfortable. But if you don't let me know, I will call your name. And if you don't want to say anything, say pass, or, after a few moments of awkward silence, we will move on. So I'm just going to go down my list, and I'm going to start with Christy.
Hi, everybody. How y'all doing? Good to see you guys. Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday. Just keep praying for us.
Definitely. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. What about Rebecca?
We're doing pretty well. We're just sort of tired, but that's okay.
What's the baby's name? I was trying to remember the baby's name the other day.
Edith Rose.
Edith Rose.
And I errantly commented yesterday that she's been doing a good job of sleeping at night. And yeah, everyone who has like kids knows, like when soon as, yep, Lynette knows. Okay. She proved me wrong.
That is beautiful. Her very first Christmas, and hope it was awesome.
It was pretty boring. I'm not sure how everyone else's Christmases were, but I don't know, boring. But she doesn't know.
That is very true. What about Maria?
I had kind of a up and down week with things about my grandma. So I found out last Sunday that she's had dementia for I think 3 years now. But as recently as June, she was still like, she knew her kids, she could still have conversations, but apparently she does not recognize anybody anymore and doesn't really talk. Although she's still pretty happy most of the time. Then I found out Tuesday she had COVID and was doing okay. But then Wednesday she was sedated with a fever of 105. Then Thursday she had no fever and was conscious and talking again. So when with COVID, you can go downhill again anytime. So we're kind of hoping she's out of the woods, but it was also a bit of a blow to know how little she can really enjoy and experience the world anymore. So it's kind of a difficult place to navigate, which I'm sure everybody has had to deal with at some point with a grandparent or parent. So, and Christmas was okay. This is all right. Smaller than usual, but got to avoid some conflict I was worried about coming up. So mostly everybody was nice.
Love to hear that, and we're definitely keeping you and your family in our prayers, definitely.
Yeah, I have a week off from work, so I'm looking forward to doing a lot of reading and not much else.
Good for you. Good for you. Miss Lois. Yep, you're on mute.
I forget. Good morning, everyone. I'm doing fine. No problems. Yes, a smaller and more boring Christmas. I'm guilty of having a lot of mimosa, but I lift a glass to everyone that everyone has a healthy, and we know it won't be carefree, but that things will change in 2021. I'm good. Thank you.
Good, good, good. Nikki.
Hello, I have a cranky baby.
Well, she's adorable, so that she's allowed to be a little cranky sometimes.
Now she sees herself on the camera, so she's at least briefly entertained. No, we're doing okay. We had a pretty good Christmas. Tom worked, which, that happens every other Christmas for us, but it still sucks, especially now because the hospital's pretty busy. And Thomas said the morale is kind of low around the holidays now, just because it was low to begin with coronavirus, and people are working instead of spending time with their families right now. So just keep those healthcare workers in your prayers a lot.
Definitely keep you all and Tom and those other doctors, nurses, and everyone else who keeps the hospital running in our prayers. Meg.
Good morning. I'm given that my son was in the hospital and is now out. So there was that kind of drama. I'm glad that Christmas was as boring as it was, and that he's out now, and things look like they might be able to be a little calmer for a little while. Who knows? Just really grateful for this community and my other communities that keep me sane. Really grateful, and hope that you also are feeling sustained by the love in your lives. It does all come down to that.
It's a very, very good point. So we're glad that Joe is out of the hospital, and I've been telling people Christmas was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I guess that's just how I describe it. Lynette.
Christmas itself was very calm and quiet and peaceful. I kind of enjoyed it. I did some things I don't normally do. Like I listened to the radio broadcast of A Christmas Carol, and that was awesome. So December 24th, Christmas Eve, my daughter's spouse, Casey, had to have an emergency root canal, having just got over COVID. So they're recuperating. They're still very swollen in the jaw. They have to go back to the dentist, whatever the specialty dentist you call them, for more procedure on Monday. They have been cleared for work, though, so they'll be traveling back down to Tennessee. They work at Vanderbilt Hospital. I'm worried about their stamina. They just look so tired. I mean, they just beat COVID and got a root canal. Beverly, my daughter, doing okay. Still tired. And she thinks that it's probably just from not having exercise for any length of time in the last month because of COVID, because of being so tired. Keep them in your prayers. I'm doing fine. It is what it is. Thanks.
Definitely keep you all in our prayers. Kevin and Lisa.
Hi, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Well, I think many of you know that my mom died in her sleep. It was her 88th birthday on the 23rd. But the amazing thing was that because it was her birthday on the 23rd, I got to be in her room with her, and she had been the last 2 or 3 weeks slipping cognitively a lot, where one time on the phone she asked me how my mom was doing. She couldn't remember the kids' names, that kind of thing. But speed up to the 23rd, she knew who we were. The kids were outside her window because they're not allowed to come into the assisted living. And I told her I was waiting for her to get the second vaccine, and then I was going to move her back to her condo. But anyway, I was able to go through the calendar with her, and that filled her with a lot of joy, and she was peaceful. And I got her the COVID shot, but don't worry, that's not it's not what took her out. She was 88. But she was happy about that, and the kids were dancing, and they had a big poster saying happy birthday, Misu. And then we just got a call that we had 24/7. Yeah, we had people from an agency in with her because she was at that point where she needed constant care. Yeah, and then I got a call at 6 a.m, Christmas Eve, that she had died in her sleep, and she had been going through so much. She had shingles. She was having residual nerve pain all along her right side. I mean, I didn't think things could get more painful for her, and they did. But with that, she also got relief. But I really feel like it's a miracle that we got to have such closure with her the day before she passed. And she was happy. And because she was a little out of it mentally, she was more like a small child and said, "I'm ready to nap. Goodbye, everybody." So she wasn't upset that she was there. And she was, the sweet aide from the agency was crying happy tears and said, "You guys really seem like a happy family. I don't see this all the time." And it was sweet, like she barely knows us, but she could tell that there was a lot of love there. So yeah, and then another miracle is, so far things have been peaceful with my brother, and that's he's my only living immediate family member from childhood left now. And he's coming down from Chicago, and we can do my mom was very Catholic, so we're doing a very small funeral mass for her, and then a memorial when it's safe. And he can stay at her old condo, so he doesn't have to worry about a hotel and, all of that. But so far, I feel nothing but empathy, and the anger's gone. And I just please pray for my mom, but also that I can remain peaceful, because the last thing she would want is her kids fighting. But so far, so good. We're both on our best behavior. And his relationship was a lot more complicated. So all I want to do is hug him. I can't. But so I feel very sad, but also very at peace, and honestly relieved, because the past 2 months have been very, very stressful for both mom and my family. So I'm just so glad she's in heaven and free of that body that was getting more and more limited by the day. And just that she can strut her stuff, however that is for her, would be heaven, but free of a body. So anyway, thank you all for all your support, and Happy New Year almost, everybody. Oh, and Maria, my heart goes out to you, because I feel like I totally can understand. Of course, it's different for everyone, but the roller coasters of the phone call from one day to the next, and the same thing with my mom. They would say, "We think she has COVID. We think she's having another stroke," and we'd rush in, and then she'd be okay. And then it would just go on. And just that roller coaster of emotions. I just want to let you know that you're in my heart, and I can totally relate to that. So anyway, you'll be in my prayers. All right, that's it. I'm going to stop rambling.
Well, just know that we are praying for you and that we love you, and let us know as your church family how we can collectively or individually support you through this. And if anyone in the church needs Lisa's address, you want to send a card to her, the boys, I'm sure they would welcome that, and just let me know and I'll get that to you. Sarah, Clint, Max, and Sam said they're good. They're enjoying a break. If you saw the Christmas Eve service, you will see that Max is quite the pianist. That's why I made a separation between me playing Oh Holy Night at the beginning and Max playing. I did not want to be upstaged by someone I've seen grow up. But he is awesome and awesome. I'm just so proud of him. And that's a really hard song. Carol of the Bells is a really hard song, but he played it by heart. And I was just really, really, really impressed. We have someone in the group. All it says is iPad. And so I don't know who that is. So if you would like to check in, I'll wait a couple seconds. And if you unmute, you can do that. And if not, we'll just keep moving forward. No pressure either way.
Hi, my name is Michael. I'm just just trying to listen in as a fly on the wall today. Hey, Reverend.
Hey, Michael, we love flies on the wall. So you just enjoy yourself and sit back, relax, and join in anytime you would like to or not. Happy New Year. Thank you so much.
Happy holidays to you too.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So today, well, first, before I move forward, I know lots of people gave prayer requests as part of your checking in. Did anyone have a prayer request or something that you didn't get to share that you would like to share? You can raise your hand or let me know, or put it in the chat, and we can receive those now. Anyone have any prayer requests?
Hey, Derek, it's Nikki.
Hey.
My aunt has had substance abuse issues, and she's currently in St. Elizabeth Hospital on a psych hold. So just prayers for my family and for her.
Definitely. Substance abuse is really hard, really tricky. So we definitely pray for Nikki's aunt. Maria's mother-in-law is having some back pain for a while. It spiked badly on Christmas Eve, so we definitely keep her in our prayers. Any others? I'll look on Facebook. I was able to get us streaming on YouTube, and so I posted that link on the Facebook page. We're just so fancy these days. I don't know what to say. Anyone else? Meg, I see your hand.
Yeah, just please keep praying for my son. Thank you.
Definitely. Anyone else? Christy?
My sciatic nerve got trapped, is what I'm understanding. I woke up on last Saturday before Christmas with like a pain that woke up my whole house. I yelled and everybody was like, "What is wrong?" After that pain, I passed out and Ingrid had to call the ambulance. So it was a deal. I could not move my left leg. It was basically dragging. But a week later, I'm walking. I can make it up the stairs just fine. But it was some time for that pain to get settled. My doctor told me that the emergency room could have given me a little bit more meds to take home so that I wasn't tortured. But so please don't. I mean, I'm not a fan of Mercy. The Mercy over on North Bend, every time I go there, it feels like they just think that we're all making it up, even though I arrived in an ambulance. But just having that pain, I'm working through it. You guys all know me. I'm always moving. So I'm like, now I got to sit down because it hurts like a butt crack. It hurts horribly. Like there's tears and everything. I'm taking a lot of meds. So just pray for me.
Definitely. And if you need anything, I mean, I'm literally around the corner. Please do not hesitate to reach out. I can throw something on your porch, and I do not mind that at all. Anyone else? Prayer requests? I don't see anything on Facebook. Got YouTube going, don't see anything. All right, so today we're celebrating Kwanzaa. Every year there's one Sunday that falls in the week of Kwanzaa, and most Black churches that I'm familiar with, they celebrate Kwanzaa in some way. Growing up in my home church, it would be a big Sunday school production where we would wear African garb, dashikis, and fabric, and learn, learn various monologues, and it would be a pretty big, elaborate celebration. Same way with, church on Sunday, the pastor would preach about it. We would sing, lift every voice and sing, and other spirituals. I also grew up in Louisville, and there was a program called Black Achievers. Black Achievers was for students who were grades 8 through 12, and it was the second and fourth Saturday of every single month. And on those second and fourth Saturdays, you would come, and Black adults in various sectors of business or various sectors of professionalism would come and give you advice to your particular cluster. So I was in the business cluster, but they also had health and medical and creative and all these other clusters. And every second and fourth Saturday, we would have to do two things. We would, one, sing all 3 verses of Lift Every Voice and Sing, because they wanted us to know the song, to be able to sing it, to know the words, to know what it meant. And the other thing that we did every second and fourth Saturday was recite the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. And we not only have to, know the Swahili word, like today, the second day is Kujichagulia, self-determination. But we would have to, say the Swahili word, the translation, and then the definition. So Kujichagulia, self-determination, to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. So they made sure that we knew those 7 principles. And I had when I was in the 8th grade cluster, and that's just, all the 8th graders, our instructor, Mr. Hightower, was I believe a teacher. He had that teacher, principal, vice principal of disciplinary action energy, and he was all about punctuality. And Mr. Hightower says you're on time if you're 10 minutes early, right? Well, in the 8th grade cluster, if you're late, it's usually not your fault, right? I mean, you're in the 8th grade, so your parents drop you off. And it was on the 6th floor of the old, African-American YMCA in Louisville. And the elevators worked every other day. So you were afraid to get on the elevator. So we'd have to climb to the 6th floor. And so imagine we would get there and try to run up the stairs, because if you were late when it came time to recite the principles of Kwanzaa, or came time to sing Lift Every Voice and Sing, he would have you stand in front of the room and lead those moments. And in the 8th grade, there is nothing that you want to do less than stand in front of a room full of people. And so I don't know if culturally, if some of my white members will understand this, but there's something about being in a room full of Black people, especially that you don't know, or that you don't know extremely well. Everyone was dressed. When I say dressed, like you spend a lot of time. And this was at 9 o'clock in the morning. You spend a lot of time, because you're going to see these kids from other schools, right? Putting on your best shoes and on your best clothes, and making sure the hair was right. And you had all the accessories, because for a lot of us, we went to schools that were primarily white, right? So to go to this space and be surrounded by almost 1,000 Black kids from the 8th grade to the 12th grade, you would spend lots of time to curate your look and to and to make sure that you were extremely cool and, you know, like just on par. And so you didn't want to be in front of everybody singing Lift Every Voice and Sing, because that wasn't cool, right? Or reciting the words. And definitely if you had ran up the steps and he had shut the door by the time you got there, you had to do these things breathing hard from running up 6 flights of stairs. And so this is something that's very near and dear to me because it's such a part of my upbringing. It's such a part of my childhood, like drilling into those. Just imagine twice a month at 9 o'clock in the morning, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. It's 5 years of over and over and over again, getting these messages. And so whenever I can say the words, people are like, oh, how do you know that? Well, I just know it. People made sure that I knew it. And I'm grateful for that. And so today, we just want to talk about some of those principles, what they mean. And more than anything, I want to encourage people to incorporate them into your lives. I found a scripture from the African American lectionary that we use to honor Kwanzaa. So this is not, you know, this Sunday, the lectionary, the Christian common lectionary, you know, we're waiting for the Magi to come. And that's what we would traditionally talk about. But since we celebrate Kwanzaa, this is the scripture that we believe gives us a really good foundation of what Kwanzaa is. And so if you're on Zoom, I've posted it in the chats, Colossians, the 3rd chapter, verses 13 and 14. And it says, bear with one another. If anyone has a complaint against another, forgive each other. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. Above all, clothe yourself with love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. And I love that scripture. And it really reminds us what Kwanzaa is for. Kwanzaa is not an African holiday. It was founded right here in these United States of America in the 60s, where, you know, people that where lots of people from that era are still very much alive and well. And I believe, I don't remember if the man who created the holiday is still living, but a lot of his contemporaries are. And it was just to celebrate the cultural concept, the African cultural concept of first fruits, of bringing in your best. And it just makes sense that he would position it immediately after Christmas to combat or to push back against some of that commercialization of what this holiday is about. So during Kwanzaa, you would not buy gifts, you would make something to give to your loved ones. And over the course of 7 nights, you would light your candles. You start with the center, the black candles to the center. On the right, it's the red. The left are 3 green, and you alternate each day between the red and the green until you've lit candles for each of these 7 principles. So just give me a second. I'm going to pull up the principles so you can see them. And I have to, good thing is there's no audio here, so we won't get that feedback situation. Share screen. So hopefully you can see those just easier. I did put this graphic in the on the St. Peter's Facebook page. And so that's literally, you type in St. Peter's United Church of Christ, Facebook page pop-ups, or you can type in at St. Peter's Cincy, C-I-N-C-I, and that will pop up. And so these are the 7 principles. This is literally verbatim the language that I had to memorize and learn as a child. Yesterday, we lit the candle for Umoja. And so most Kwanzaa celebrations, you start with Habari Gani. What's the Habari Gani? What's the news, right? And the response would be Umoja, whatever that particular day is, unity, to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Today, and if you look to the left, that's the Adinkra symbol that matches that particular word. So Adinkra is just West African symbols that mean something. And so that first symbol to the left means, it's Umoja, or that's the symbol for unity. Kuji Chakalia, self-determination, to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. Ujima, collective work and responsibility, to build and maintain our community together and to make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together. Of course, in 2020, we would say to make other humans' problems our problems and to solve them together. Ujamaa, cooperative economics, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses and to profit for them together. Nia, purpose, to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Kaumba, to do as much as we can in the way that we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. I feel like I'm missing one. There we go, Imani. Faith, to believe with all our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and the victory of our struggle. All of these are super important. And collectively, we believe in the individual who helped to create Kwanzaa believe that if we embody these 7 principles, then we are able to do what that scripture that we just said. We're able to work with one another. We're able to forgive one another. We're able to build and to encourage one another. And that's the call. When I read those, did any of them stick out to you as, oh, I really like that one? Or that particular language spoke to you in an inspiring or positive way? Was there one for anyone that really stood out?
It was interesting to read, to hear you read out loud Ujamaa, because I feel like in 2020, I feel like everybody, I sort of see this under movement of people coming together, buying from small businesses, everybody trying to, sort of say, hey, let's take care of the community. I think at first it was, we're only buying from Black businesses. Now we've of course expanded that to we're buying from supporters of the community. So I just, to see that from something that was developed in the 60s, Ijama, we're getting to right now. I don't think I really saw a large collective of that in my lifetime. So that one jumped out at me.
Well, that's a good one. Anyone else's? Was there anything that really spoke to you, like, oh wow, that's beautiful, or that's moving? Meg?
In the Sweet Honey in the Rock version of the 7 principles, Kumba is sung as all that we touch is more beautiful. And I just love that.
Oh, that's wonderful. And just think about this. If there are 7 principles that, people should live by, and creativity is one of those principles. And I think that sometimes in our serious world, we forget how important the creative, artistic side of us is, right? I mean, you can have a little kid and you can literally entertain a little kid with a pencil or pen and a piece of paper. And if you're really fancy, you can give them some crayons or markers, right? And they'll spend time just drawing and creating, and they'll go to the wall and say, okay, there's art on the wall, let me put some art on the wall, right? And somewhere along the way, a lot of adults, we get to the point where we don't consider that creative side of us as important as the other parts of us. But I love that idea of leaving our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it, and that's really powerful. One more. Anything else stand out to you? Kevin and Lisa?
I know this is silly, but I always love being reminded about Nia because our good friends named their daughter Nia, and she's one of my favorite people. And so it's just so special to remember about the meaning of her name, and why they picked that name, and just to think of her. It just makes me filled with pride that I get to know her.
Oh, that's awesome. I know someone named Nia, and I know 2 or 3 people named Imani. That faith, and I love to believe with all our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, the righteousness and victory of our struggle. And again, culturally, we have lots of teachers in our church, right? I know lots of teachers and educators, and we see how important teachers and educators are. And I pray that COVID will bring about a change in how we treat our educators, and not only how we treat our educators, but how we educate our kids, right? Because some of the teachers that I talk to, this talk about how much work they have to how much work they spend not teaching to do all the stuff that you have to do to prove you're teaching. And so culturally, and Black people really would respect and teach to respect the teacher. Like, I was taught that the teacher was like parent at school. So you respect, you don't talk back, you don't like, and if the teacher said anything, all the teacher had to do was say, I'm going to call your mother or your father or your grandparent. And I would straighten up instantly because, that was just like sanctimount. You did not disrespect, respect teacher. And so whenever I see that, I always think that's beautiful, that's put in there. Lois?
Okay. I was about 10 years old when this came out and was created. And there was a lot of controversy at first about I'm not going to let my children celebrate that holiday with many of the elders at that time who did not understand that notion or that concept of putting this into our young people. When you ask the question of which one stands out to me, every single one stands out to me because it was so a part of, whenever there's a controversy, it's not so much that I want to say, oh, I'm going to get into it. It's more of the reason, well, why? And so I did a lot of study around that. And later on in my life, I am actually one of the people that was able to audition to be part of Sweet Honey in the Rock. And even though I didn't make the cut, I was empowered by the experience of being a part of the 11 women that were chosen and learning to sing that music from a different place in my body, if you will. I love that music. I love the sentiment and putting those concepts into life, not just this is something that can be lived by every person on the planet. And it's a principle that you can share easily with any culture that you come in contact with. I'm
Absolutely.
done.
Absolutely. Were there any principles, any principles that you think, oh my goodness, that's really hard to do? Or was there anything that you thought, oh, that's a difficult one? Trying to get them all on the screen at the same time. And man, there we go. Any principle that you think, that's a little bit that may be hard, or society may make that hard, or it's not as, or I wish it was easier for that? Kevin and Lisa, I don't know if your hand is up from the last time or if it's up now. So if I'm wrong, I'm sorry.
Oh, we're not up. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, it's all good.
I must not put it down right. Okay, sorry.
It's all good. Anything that you think is more difficult than the others? Or anyone that we wish were easier to in society or for us to practice?
Hey, Derek, it's Nikki.
Hey, Nikki.
I like the collective work and responsibility, Ujima. Like, I like that thought. And I think that a lot of other people do too, but I don't think that that's something that we as a society do very well. And I will even say for myself, like, we get involved in our own problems and we don't make it a priority to help others.
Anyone else we see ourselves in that? We're like, yep, that can be hard. Absolutely. That collective work and responsibility in theory is really beautiful, right? But we live in a capitalistic society, and capitalism, and I got goosebumps there. I have to watch my, because I can go into a whole thing. But capitalism says that the strong survive, the weak die. And that's one of the most frustrating parts to me right now with COVID, is because it's like an attack. If people, like, there are people, politicians and leaders, who are literally attacking people for being afraid of getting COVID or for taking precautions and wearing a mask and social distancing. That's our collective work and our responsibility to one another, right? To our family, to strangers, to the elderly. That's one of the reasons why we're not having physical church. There are churches all over the country right now that are having service as usual with no masks, or allowing people to, have their masks down. And but we have a duty to look out for each other, right? We owe that to other humans. And it really, really bothers me, that whole idea of the economy over people's lives. Because what happens is we know that because of certain socioeconomic health disparities, that this impacts populations that are marginalized and oppressed more than it impacts people who have better insurance and live in certain neighborhoods. I mean, you can literally, all across this country, by zip code, determine people's life expectancy. And that's a problem. Like that's we're not doing our collective work. We're saying certain people are worthy and certain people aren't. And it goes back to A Christmas Carol and Charles Dickens, how people dealt with the poor and the weak among us. Well, they should just, if you're homeless, you should just go to a shelter. And if you know anything about homeless shelters, it's not that easy to just go to a shelter. And people say, well, you know, we're the party of family. Well, most homeless shelters, a family can't go to if there's a male in the midst. And so we've created this system that separates and harms and hurts. And even now, you know, with the money, with politicians not wanting to give state and local governments money to help fight the corona. Well, basically, you know, the same party that said, you know, we will not defund the police if you don't give cities and states money. Guess what half their budget usually goes to? It usually goes to police and fire, right? So they're going to cut, they're going to defund in order to come up with the stuff that they need to come up with to fight COVID. And so that one really, that bothers me. So I'll stop because we're almost out of time. But we could talk about the perils of capitalism and how it kills people and destroys families. And well, that's a whole other thing. Anything else that you think is difficult in our society, or difficult for us to do, of these 7 principles? There we go. I don't see everybody at once, so I can't see any hands. So what about this? We'll close here. How do we individually and collectively as a body, how do we do the work of living these principles, of striving for unity, of having self-determination, of making sure our collective work and our responsibility to other humans outside of ourselves? And how do we support that whole idea of cooperative economics in a world where it's so much easier just to get on my phone and buy from Amazon? It takes 2 minutes, as opposed to finding those small, you know, doing the work of finding those small individuals. How do we do that? Kevin, Lisa?
Well, I was just thinking, maybe we could all pool. I know we're small, but we also know a lot of people between all of us, and maybe we could all sort of try and pool like a resource book of just those smaller businesses that we know of, so that instead of having to search, like, I think part of my problem is if there's an emergency and I need a plumber, it's hard to always know when you need someone, when you're stressed, to like be able to do that research at that time. But if we had like a resource directory of people that we know, you know, small businesses, especially businesses owned by people of color, you know, that would be kind of neat to share with each other. And I had the privilege of getting to work with a Black owned business for the care agency for my mom. So if anyone down the road ever needs that, I was a wonderful woman and she was the business owner. So that was exciting. But I was just thinking, even like things like that, hopefully no one needs that now, but if we just sort of pulled any businesses that we knew of and pulled together, it's a start. I mean,
And I think there are resources. I think I'll have to look in my resource folder on my computer, but I think that a couple people, maybe like the African American Chamber of Commerce or some other organizations, have done stuff like that. And that's something that culturally we as a people will do. Like, I know I'll text Christy a lot. Hey, do you know someone who does this? And it is extra work. It is extra work. But seeing how much money Jeff Bezos has made this year has made me almost ashamed of the number of Amazon packages that come to my house, because I mean, I would much rather it go to other people. And think about this, at a time when the principles of Kwanzaa, when Kwanzaa became a thing, that was right in the middle of de-urbanization, of people moving, white people moving out of cities into suburbs. It was also a time of we're in the middle of the civil rights movement, desegregation, and public accommodations and all these things. So up until this point, Black people went to Black florists only, and Black funeral homes only, and Black grocery stores. And when the shift started to take place, we did see a shrinking of Black business. It's really interesting to me living in Cincinnati, because I come from the South, even though it's just across the river. In Kentucky, I mean, to this day, most Black people only go to Black funeral homes. Like, there's 4 or 5 of them, and that's because for years that's the only place you could go. And we didn't trust white people to know how to do the makeup and the hair when other things started happening. And in the same way in Louisville, if people are of a certain generation, like my grandmother's generation, and people that were 20 years younger than her, there was only one Black high school. That was the only place you could go. And so coming here, it's just really interesting, people not having those same, of course there's racism, there's all kinds of stuff here, but just some of those rigid things are a little different. And so, yeah, we can definitely do that. Anything else? How we can support, how we can internalize these things, Christy?
Something that I bartering, I will say, bartering, understanding and respecting what bartering actually means. I'll give 2 examples. I met Ruth Wolf from Community Happens Here at St. Peter's Church. We were setting up for her for an event so she could have an event there. Ruth and I became friends. Hassan needed soundproofing and Ruth had soundproofing, and Ruth needed a volunteer. So Ruth gave us all the soundproofing and we benefit from that. But when Ruth has like her sidewalk things, Hassan goes and volunteers for her. So he's making popcorn, he's learning soft skills. He is making snowballs. He's learning how to be a barista. So for me, I think a little bit that bartering deal might be a little bit top heavy because Hassan is learning a ton, but we often will volunteer at Community Happens Here. Last week I went to the Caring Place and we just loaded up some groceries for the seniors, and we made a few deliveries. So, that's how we can barter. We can give something of value for something else we need. When I lived in the hood, if you got Kool-Aid and I got sugar, and you ain't got sugar, come on now. Let's just bring it together so we can all have some Kool-Aid. So I just think we've kind of gotten a little bit far from bartering.
That's a really good point. Sometimes progress is really a detriment. We get too bougie. And just culturally, some of the things that have carried our people, that's the lesson. And it's so funny because as I was telling one of my friends who's a pastor that we always do a Kwanzaa service. He was like, "Well, don't half your church white?" And I'm like, Yeah, but there's a lesson. Like we can all learn from these things. When I used to sell my shea butter at farmers markets, those who sold, we never exchanged money. You know, the farmer loved, you know, what my lotion did for his skin. So he would give, you know, mint to make some of my products and give me, you know, carrots and this, and then I would give him cream and like that whole system where it's not about money. Michael, I see your hand up.
Yes, I did. So in terms of Ujama, I there are a couple of black-owned coffee shops that I try to go to every once in a while. I actually live near one of them. It's called Cream and Sugar. And now there's the Black Coffee Lounge, which is downtown, a block or two from the library, or three. My grandma and I sometimes go to soul food restaurants. And then I don't know if this has anything to do with the Moja, but before the pandemic, there was this one individual who led yoga classes, specifically for like Black and people of color, LGBT members. So I would go to one of those sessions every once in a while, and maybe a couple of times go on a hiking trip with a Black hiking group in town. That's some of the principles, but I think it's a matter of trying to get in where you can.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your input. And that's a really good point, because I'll say this. Whenever people tell me when we're doing race work, you know, well, you know, I don't have any Black friends, I don't have any Black neighbors, and like, what do you do? And I always tell people, what do you love to do? If you hike, if you like coffee, if you are you know, are an artist or you sing, once COVID lets up, find out where the Black people are singing. Like, you know, where those groups, where are the Black people doing yoga? And that's how you do it. It is a little more work, right? It's same way with Amazon. It's a little more work for me to hunt, but there's those relationships, like with Hassan. When you do that little bit extra work, you're getting so much more than you would get not doing that work. And so some of these principles just remind us of how simple life used to be. It's sometimes, if nothing else, what COVID has reminded me is going back, like that need for the simple. Like right now, what I crave more than anything is not, you know, flying to Paris. It's just being able to hang out with my friends and family and touch them and hug them and do all those things. I have a neighbor who's, you know, in his early 70s, no kids, lives alone. And so whenever I have, like if I bake something really nice, or if I cook too much of something, or, you know, have something that I think he may appreciate, especially on the holidays, I'll send him a text. Hey, do you want a plate? Be careful, this is kind of spicy. You know, he's an older white guy. I don't know how he is with too spicy. But on Christmas, I did that, sent him a text. Hey, you know, you want a plate? And I hadn't heard from him as I normally, you know, would. And so I said, okay, if I don't hear from him by this time, I'm banging on the door. Because, you know, he lives by himself and doesn't have any kids, and I don't know what's going on. But he had texted me, you know, he didn't hear the phone go off and yada, yada, yada. And so again, it's just taking those extra steps to, you know, on Christmas, I called people that I know lived alone. And it wasn't because I didn't think they would do anything on Christmas, but when you live by yourself, you like getting a call every now and then, you know, just doing that little bit of work. And so what I encourage us all to do is to spend time, I call it the next thought bubble. Like, you ever read a comic book and they'll be in one issue in this square and the next square they got a little more information. Sometimes we get stuck in that one square, in our square. So I always think, what's the next thought? Just to take that little bit of time to think what somebody may be dealing with or feeling or going through, and to push ourselves beyond our comfort zones. Sometimes when you push yourself beyond your comfort zone, when you show up someplace, when you do something, when you open yourself up to opportunities and experiences that you've never had before, you would be amazed at the lessons you learn. You will be amazed at the relationships that you build. I have a really eclectic group of friends who have introduced me to art and music and food and things that I never would have discovered had I just stayed to myself. So we really, really, really encourage people to do those things. Anyone have anything to add before we close out? Well, please, 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 please keep all of those things, those thoughts in our prayers that we shared. I also, on the St. Peter's Facebook page, put that graphic that we shared, that we just looked at, with all of those principles of Kwanzaa. And I also put the lyrics, a image of the lyrics of Lift Every Voice and Sing, and a couple of versions, well, a different version of Lift Every Voice and Sing on that page. So you can take a look at that. It's kind of neat. It's a 105 voice HBCU choir, and it's all remote. So it's all the individual, from all these different HBCUs, and they're all wearing their shirts with their HBCU on it. And everyone had to, record their part and send it in, and they put it all together. And because of COVID, singing remotely is really difficult. And so that's kind of neat. If you want to see that, if we're Facebook friends, you can look on my page. And I have a version of Ray Charles and the Raylettes singing Lift Every Voice and Sing on the Dick Cavett show in 1970, 72, somewhere around in there. So that's pretty dope. You definitely want to see Ray Charles in his 1970 tuxedo playing the piano and singing. Thank you all for continuing to give to the church. This is our last Sunday of the year. Can you believe it? And I don't know about you, but I am ready for 2020 to be over. I was so looking forward to it, and I am now looking forward to say goodbye. And I am glad that the vaccines are out. I know several people who have got the vaccine. After you get it, you still need to wear a mask. So still practice social distance. We have to get those numbers down. Please continue to be safe and healthy. That's the St. Peter's ID for Facebook. If you don't like the page already, you can just type that in, St. Peter Cincy, and search, and you'll see that at the very top of the page is a link for Tithely, where you can donate recurringly. You can set it up, put in your information with a check, where it will come out of your checking account, or you can use a credit card. Will come out. You can tell it when and how often, or you can give a one-time gift, and we are grateful and thankful for that. Just thank you all for continuing to come together. This has been really tough. We haven't been in the church for service since March, and I never thought it would be this long. But I'm super excited that we're able to do this. And I'm super excited that we do church in this way, and that it's just not me in front of the camera talking and I can't see you and get feedback from you. So continue to keep those people in prayer that we spoke of earlier. And I hope that everyone has an awesome Sunday and an awesome Kwanzaa. I'll be posting all week the principles for that particular day. And I have a digital candle, so you'll see which candle we would actually be lighting, so you can keep up that way, and feel free to follow and share. There is nothing else, then let us go on mute and we will recite the Lord's Prayer. Well, I lost you. All right, are we ready? On the count of 3. Our God, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Love you all so much. Keep hope alive. Live long, prosper. Peace.